Hi, everyone. I just wanted to take a second to come on today and tell this amazing story that I witnessed today. So, by the way, I went and had my hair done, so I feel all polished and pretty. And it's taking those moments of self-care that, gosh, just make us feel really good inside and make us feel good about ourselves. So, got my hair all polished and cut and done today. But I wanted to tell this really cool story that happened. So after I was getting my hair done, I stopped off at In-N-Out Burger to get my kids a burger. And I was sitting there waiting, and in walks this little girl and her father. And they're sitting right next to me. And I'm overhearing this conversation, and I'm listening, and I'm hearing the father talk to her about how special she is. And I overheard him talk about divine love. And he says, listen, he says, you come into this planet divinely whole, and you come in special and amazing and perfect. Hello, beautiful Lynn. So I'm talking about this amazing experience. So today, by the way, Lynn, was my day to go and get my hair done and cut and colored. So I feel all woo again. But what I was wanting to tell was the story of I stopped off at In-N-Out Burger to get the twins a burger. And in walks this man and his little girl. And I'm listening to this conversation that's going on next to me. And Lynn, you and I both know that there's no accidents. Hi, Russell. So I'm sharing this story about this conversation. And I'm listening to this man tell his little girl about divine love. Thank you. And he was saying to her how she comes into the planet whole, that she comes into the planet special and complete. And he says to her, no matter what anybody tries to tell you in your life, that there's something wrong with you, or that you talk too much, or you laugh too much, or you're too silly, or he says, I want you to always remember how special and unique you are. And I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, holy mackerel, this is the kind of conversation I have with people. And I'm thinking, how was this divinely set up for me to hear this story? And so I said to him, pardon me, but I don't mean to eavesdrop. I said, but I can't not eavesdrop. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm an inspirational speaker. I said, and I talk about these spiritual principles, this spiritual truth all the time. And I said, is this your granddaughter? And believe it or not, you guys, it was his daughter. She was 8 years old. And he tells me, I know, isn't this awesome? Everything happens for a reason. There are never any accidents. And for me, this was just once again another story to be able to share with everyday people about the truth of who they are. And here's this little girl, 8 years old, and he's telling her that there's going to be people in your life who are going to try to own your power. And they're going to try to tell you there's something wrong with you. And he says, and I want you to know that that spirit within you is whole, perfect, and complete. And I'm listening to him say this. And so when I finally said something to him, I told him, I said, this is what I do for a living. This is what I want to share with the world. I said, this is what I was awakened to when I had a near-death experience in 1997. Hi, Larry. Thank you so much for stopping in. And so I said to him, I said to the guy, I said, what you're sharing with this child is what every single one of us is here to remember. I said, so what you're doing with the next generation right now with your daughter is you're helping her to remember who she truly is. And that there's going to be people that are going to come into her life and they're going to try to steal her power and they're going to try to tell her things about herself that aren't true. And you're telling her to own her power and that there's something inside of her that is so magnificent and amazing. And so he says, yes, he says, that's exactly what I'm doing. And he tells me how he has 15 kids, but I almost died when he told me that. And he says his oldest ranges from 40 down to this 8-year-old little girl. And I said, oh my God, I go, you did what I did. I said, I have a 32-year-old, a 26-year-old. I had twins, right at 40. And I said, and I have grandchildren as well. And nobody ever notices that. But what he said is he realizes, him and the mother are separate. She lives her life, he lives his life. But what he was saying is that the mother tells the little girl that there's always something wrong with her. And the little girl tells her father. And the little girl tells her father that the mother spanks her. And he says, I don't believe in spanking. He says, I don't believe in hurting a spirit. I believe in communicating. I believe in talking. I believe in sharing with that spirit, that we have choices and we have a choice between right or wrong. And life is about experiencing those choices. And when we make certain choices, he says to me, then what he tells her is sometimes there's going to be an effect to those choices that you don't always like. But he says, I want you to remember that those choices, you don't want to beat yourself up and call yourself bad when you make those choices. He says, I want her to look at those choices and realize that in every moment, she has a choice to tap into the power within her, or she has a choice to experience something that may not always serve her, but hopefully she'll learn from those lessons. And he says that when the mother spanks her, he says to me, he says, what would you say to her, even though somebody's hurting her? And I told him, I said, you know what? Say to her that she always should see the face of God, the face of love, divine love in every person. Not everybody's going to be loving and they're not going to be kind and they're not going to be peace, but she can choose peace. She can choose to be the reflection of divine love. And he goes on to say that he tells her, because I asked him, I said, so what do you classify as divine love? And he says, well, I see divine love is everlasting. He says, it's forever. He says, it's like the difference between a flower and a dog. He says, when you experience divine love, he says, it's love and you're lifted like you're walking on water. And he says, and it's when you see that in yourself, he says, you begin to reflect that to everybody else. And so, he tells the little girl all the time, he says, you can take deep breaths in. And he says, it's just like planting a seed of love. And he says, when you pray and you ask to always be a reflection of love and kindness, even when your mother, is spanking you and you hold on to that idea of love, he says, you'll reflect back onto your mother, who she truly is on the inside of her. And I thought about that and I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. And so I thought, what are the odds that these kind of experiences, yep, 100%, Lynn, but what are the odds these kind of experiences show up in your now moments when you're always seeking to be an example of love? That's what I ask for all the time. I ask to constantly be a mirror of love, a mirror of laughter, a mirror of kindness. And so this little 8-year-old girl, she looks at me and she says, guess what? And I said, what? And she says, I'm 8 years old and I have sickle cell anemia. And I went, no way. I go, you have sickle cell anemia? And she says, yes. And I said, I would never know unless you told me. I said, you do not have the appearance of sickle cell anemia at all. I said, you have the appearance of love and kindness. And her dad looks at me and he says, because I never teach her that there's anything wrong with her. He says, I only teach her that she's literally made in the divine image of love. And so that's what I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and share this story with all of you today, because it really hit me at my heart. It asked me the same question. Where do we hold on to appearances? Or where do we look at appearances in this outer world and we claim them as our truth? And we claim them as our reality. It's just like me being told that I was going to need a heart transplant after the delivery of twins. And instead of connecting and believing the appearance of sickness and disease, I went inward and I claimed the truth, that I was a divine, individualized expression of love everywhere present, and that the source that was within me was perfect. Therefore, I am whole, perfect, and loving to the degree that I believe, to the degree that I allow, to the degree that I align with, and that I own. And what happened? I healed to 100%. And the same is true for all of us. Every single one of us is a divine, individualized expression. And you can call it energy. You can call it God, your higher power. You can call it the universe. You can call it infinite intelligence. But it is this individualized. Oh, did I freeze? Did I freeze? But it's this individualized, loving presence. And it's in me and it's in you. And I just wanted to come on for a second today and remind each of you, what is the appearance that you're believing on the inside about yourself? Is it loving? Is it giving yourself love, self-care? Or are you listening to what other people say about you? And are you owning what other people say you shouldn't do, laugh too loud, or be over the top, or play full out? Are you owning what everybody else says, or are you remembering the divine individualized expression of the truth of who you are? And so I just wanted to thank you, Lynn. You're always so beautiful with your hearts. I just adore you, sister, so much. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to come on and share that story today and hopefully remind some of you who are listening or watch this of who you truly are on the inside. And every single moment, you have a choice. You have a choice to align and connect inside with pure love, with divine love, because that's who each and every one of you truly is. So go out and have an amazing rest of the Friday. And I'll be popping in, sharing little messages here and there because it makes me feel so good to lift other people up. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.